We'll take off the shirt. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. See, they, yeah. Okay. Fat. Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Andrew Lalo, usually president. Well, so good to actually have a chance to talk with you today, because today is a very, really, a very good, important topics. There's a reason why I say that is because a lot of people, if you don't understand Parkinson's disease, that's why if you're able to maintain a good health with lower blood sugar, might not get you to be a Parkinson's disease candidate. Because if you become a diabetic person, you have 40% higher chances to get Parkinson versus a normal person. And Parkinson is not something that, you say, hey, I'm a smart guy, I'm a professor, and yeah, I don't think I get Parkinson. Not really true. I found that a lot of matter of fact, I have several friends who actually are very intelligent, they're very top doctors, but when they get old, they develop Parkinson's disease. And it's really sad because, what happened is the whole body just shaking. He can't even feed himself. He got fed by the maid. And lucky that maid in Hong Kong. And then some of them actually had immigrated to other places. Eventually, they have to come back because to Hong Kong they cannot handle and take care of themselves, and they really need lot of people to help them to go through regular day life. So the stress of getting that is humongous. So really it's sad to they're such an intelligent, real good doctor, but they become Parkinson candidate, and eventually they really at the end at the last thing they stay because they don't get well, unfortunately. So they just got worse and worse and worse. Eventually they pass away. But during that time, the quality of life is somewhat very poor because of the fact that they keep shaking, they can't control the movement, they can't walk, just deteriorate, continue to deteriorate, and the family become very stressful. So I hope that through this lecture, you understand what's Parkinson, so you don't fall into this type of disease, so you can be continue healthy and enjoy rest of your life. And how you prevent that, one of them is important is lower your blood sugar. And that's why today's topic will be very important. So let's go dive deep to understand what is Parkinson's disease and go from there. Okay, Edwina, can you see the slideshow? You can give me a yes if you can. That would be wonderful. Okay. Okay, good. I'm so glad with a lot of people from Hawaii actually attending our lecture, and so wonderful they continue to support our effort to listen to our learning and able to better health themselves. Okay, so anyway, let's go. How high blood sugar affect Parkinson disease, and that is the topic. First of all, we'll talk about how connection of blood sugar and Parkinson's disease. A lot of people might not understand, but today with that, you understand what is that connection and how insulin resistance affect your brain, and why when you have that, you have increased inflammations of the brain, and after that, then the neurological health are substantially affected and become poor, and that result, you will end up with uh, potential Parkinson and other brain issues, and then how just a simple lifestyle and habit can support your healthy blood sugar level, and how can low sugar can help you. And today, that's the topic. So today's topic really might give you an eye opener and say, wow, I really need to be encouraged to fix my daily diet and exercise and lower my weight so I can prevent high blood sugar, and that result end up with Parkinson's disease. Okay, so understand, I noticed today there's a lot of people that I don't normally know their names. So they must be newcomer to here, but it's okay. We always catch up. There are four stages of diabetes. The first stage is the LDL cholesterol goes up, damage the B cells coming out from the pancreas, which is the B cell taking sugar to the cells, so sugars are not going to the cells, more sugar is circulating in the bloodstream. And with that, then the problem going to start, because when the LDL cholesterol and the sugar add together, the blood become thick, and very quickly you move to stage 2. And the whole body will form plaques throughout the whole body, your brain, your heart, everything. So net result, you have less space on all the vessels, your blood pressure going to go up. That's just stage 2. Now you don't feel anything, you continue lifestyle, same thing. So the plaque is continue to form everywhere. Very quickly, you move to stage 3, which is called the pre-diabetic stage. Now, pre-diabetic stage, unfortunately, you don't have medicine to take. How they measure? Every doctor, the whole world measure the same thing. You basically, everybody have hemoglobin and measure the percentage hemoglobin attached to the blood cells. And if they're 5.7 and below, you're a normal person. If you're 5.7 to 6.4, you are a pre-diabetic. Now, usually a doctor will say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, you have pre-diabetic now. You have to, take low-carb diet. You have to exercise. You lower your weight. That's the low 10%. But why can't you give medication? But you have to change lifestyle, and then you become good. Unfortunately, all these come in, you might not able to act, or you don't know how to act. So in that result, you will continue lifestyle, and if 2 to 3 years you don't do much, you become a diabetic. Once you become a diabetic, that will be terrible, because at that time, your insurance goes up. In Hong Kong, a lot of people come back to me and say, hey, my insurance plan is canceled because of the fact that I become a diabetic. Or your premium go double, that kind of stuff. So that will be terrible, right? So net results, you really need to think, if you are pre-diabetic, you got to make sure, bring your blood sugar not to go over to be a diabetic. And how you do that? You drink low sugar tea. And low sugar tea is not a drug, it's only a supplement. It is really made of two things only, the guava leaves and bitter melon. Guava leaves delay the sugar absorption to the blood vessels. Bitter melon increase the insulin sensitivity, adding when the insulin becomes sensitive, take back the sugar to the cell, so the cell have fuel, energy, and work. And excess sugar, the bitter melon is wonderful. It dump out the excess sugar and also the bad cholesterol and the salt through the urine and detox. When that happens, your blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure will come down. Your 3 high come down. Now, naturally, we're not just telling you, hey, go drink low sugar tea. That's not what we'll do. We'll also give you a 5 program and to help you to lower your blood sugar. One, we teach you how to do low sugar, low carb, low fat diet. We teach you how to do that. Second, exercise. And the exercise, besides just doing 10,000 steps, now you can do a step master with 2 barbell, and you can do this, go 100 times, or you go to do 30 to 45 minutes, or walk in a shopping mall. And you do that, you can help you lower your blood sugar, plus after dinner, you get able to also lower your blood sugar, cholesterol, and it make you lower your weight. That's very important. Your weight, the BMI, if you're 30, you got to lower to 23. And on top of that, you have to talk to have to listen to our webinar, which is runs every Saturday free of charge, and we have 400 and somewhat webinar for you to listen. Now take a picture of this. This is the QR code, which you can able to log in here. You can see all the webinar. There's about 400 something webinar, and you can type down on YouTube. Enter into YouTube and you write at CTT low shu t slash video CCTEASLOWSUTEA / video, and you will capture all the 400 lecture free of charge to listen. And you can do the daily tracking of your blood sugar and weight and so forth. And we have that sheets for you too. So let's go to dive deep. What is Parkinson's disease? Now, Parkinson is a progressive neurological disorder, which you don't get well. You can only control. And when you get that stage, you don't really get well. You're just kind of moving down the hill. So don't get into that disease if you can. The most important Parkinson occur is when the cells, your brain cells, which is produce dopamine. Dopamine are the cells that is very important. It give you motivation, movement, thinking ability, all that. But when that dopamine gradually is dying off, your chemical transfer to all those things, all to help people to experience good mood, movement, so forth. It's good once they die, and then people will start forming and experience tremor, stiffness, slow movement, and affect the sleep, mood, digestion, and thinking ability. The whole thing. My goodness, isn't that terrible? It affects all that, and your common symptom will be tremor. They will do this. Eventually, they will do this. They can't even feed themselves because they just cannot feed themselves. And plus, the movement start off is very slow, and some of them muscle stiffness, they would just completely stiff. You cannot walk, and their balancing problems will fall. So all that is really terrible. So do not get yourself into Parkinson's disease. And that's why I like to give this lecture, because I felt that this lecture at least important to let you understand what is the issue of Parkinson, how to get. One of the most important is your dopamine. They will start dying off, and they are no longer get more dopamine out to help you to give you motivation and so forth. So really, at the end of the day, you can think of dopamine as a reward center of the brain. Okay, it is regulate motivation, pleasure, movement, memory, attention. And if they do not have dopamine, and so then you don't have like a more reward experience, because you basically all these attention, want to do more happy things, is sort of depression gone. And also dopamine is so important because it is a vital role to help you in mood regulations, sleep, motor control. And so if there is no more motor, the dopamine disappear, then you really have a big issue in the brain's function. And not only that, is actually a lot of now studies show that that is the key, because due to this imbalance, it does have link to the Parkinson disease development. So really, you don't want to get your dopamine disappear, because your whole mood, life, motivation is gone. So especially dopamine, it helps to control your movement, motivation, mood, and coordinations. All that gone or dying off, then you have the whole body doesn't function as well. So basically, that is why so important dopamine does matter here. Now, let's talk about how the brain also uses the insulin. Let's talk about that so we can link that together. Now, because people think that insulins only affect blood sugar, but insulin also play a very important in the brain. And why? Because of that, the brain energy metabolism, it need insulin because they get sugar to the cells, the brain cells, and also learning and memory, learning and also memory, and also transmitting the dopamine signals. So at the end of the day, the brain cells communication need the insulin, and they make sure that is able to have enough energy to do that. And that sugar, the insulin is provide glucose in the brain to have that function. Now, but when it being disrupted, the dopamine coming down and the activities to the neurological function are affected, and that result eventually you get potential develop Parkinson disease because all that supposed to be the excitement, movement, regulations of give you better sleep, motor control, all that are disrupted. It's no longer being imbalanced. And that result that linked to the Parkinson disease occurs. So really insulin is so important because it really helped the brain to communicate and give all the wonderful signal for the brain cells to function. Okay, so what happened when the blood sugars are high, is high, okay? Now, when frequent high blood sugar actually lead to always have insulin resistance because then the more insulin comes out, it doesn't work anymore because it being resisted now. And with that, when more sugar, then what's going to happen is you're going to develop chronic inflammation. And when chronic inflammation, the blood vessels also start damaging. And when vessels start damaged, your cells and tissue also damage. So at the end of the day, you don't want to get more blood sugar goes up and body keep getting insulin, but eventually the insulin become tired. They don't have enough insulin to get you out. And over time, the cells stop responding to insulin. So the insulin resistance will occur. So you really don't want to get yourself in this situation. That's why very important not want to get high blood sugar in the bloodstream and increase your insulin resistance. The reason is the insulin resistance occurs when the cell no longer responds properly with insulin. And then you, excuse yeah, excuse me, I got an allergy today. Oh man. And this causes high blood sugar. It increased the insulin level. But the insulin doesn't work. And now you're gonna start getting a metabolic stress syndrome, meaning that your blood sugar continue goes up, but on the other hand, if there's no insulin, it doesn't go to the cells anymore. It just circulating them in the bloodstream. And that result, you're gonna have more forming clotting and blocking the brain cells. And also, since it doesn't work, so your brain is start getting neurodegenerate disease, meaning that it's damaging all the cells, right? So the brain cell doesn't work as well either. And so that result, when your brain cell damage, so impair the insulin signal in the brain, and then your brain cell function will also deteriorating. So the whole thing, if you are no longer provide food, like you said, if you no provide food to the brain, your brain is not going to function well. I think that's the most easiest way to understand. So insulin resistance is a very important actually in a brain function. You really cannot continue to say, hey, it's okay to get insulin resistance, but not okay because it damaged the brain cells and also decrease the function of the brain. Now, so how the insulin resistance relate to Parkinson's disease then? Now, the thing is very important is the research show that when you high insulin resistance, especially when people are type 2 diabetic, they have 40% higher risk to develop Parkinson, 40% versus normal person. And because of that, what happened is when that have type 2 diabetic, your blood sugar goes up, and you have insulin resistant, the bloodstream, the whole body start forming inflammations. And the brain is also get these inflammations. And is also have, when the body had inflammation, you have what they call oxidation stress, meaning the body cannot get enough oxygens. The cells doesn't get enough oxygens. And on top of that, that also disrupts the dopamine. And dopamine function, remember, is a reward center to the brains. Is actually regulate motivation, pleasure, movement, memory, attention. So when that is disrupted, then you really have a real issue of now getting movement, and your behavior may be changed, and also your mood will be changed, your sleep will be changed, your motor control will be changed. Eventually, all this imbalance lead you back to potential the Parkinson disease. So really, at the end of the day, it's really started in a sense that it's easy to understand is because the insulin resistant, you start getting a lot of issues of the sugar feeding the brain. It's not feeding the brain anymore. So it is really end up allow the dopamine not getting the good message anymore. And dopamine is the one that is give you all the movement, all the mood that's going to be affected. That result, eventually, you're going to start getting all the symptoms like Parkinson's disease. So dopamine is really a very important part that can be influenced by your blood sugar issue. That's why it's so important when you have insulin resistance lead to your Parkinson's disease, and that is so important. Now, when you take sugar intake, and when you eat a lot of sugar, and actually that true, once you start eating sugar, the blood sugar goes up. When that happens, it causes insulin to release because insulin said, I gotta take the sugar back to the cells. So insulin also help to increase the dopamine signal to the brain. It kind of feed on them. And that's really good. So that's why a lot of people who have, Parkinson's disease, they tend to like to eat a lot of sugar, and have a crave for sugar food. But the sugar also lead to what? The blood sugar goes up, the insulin goes up, but eventually get insulin resistant over time. So that is create a short-term dopamine situation that you can get, more excitement, more mood, better, happy. But in long term, you are now getting neurological stress because eventually the sugar, insulin is not going to work anymore. You got a lot of sugar, but insulin not going to work because it got sugar resistant. Remember resistant? So then you go back to catch-22, the dopamine are being damaged. You're not going to get all the signal to get you to get good mood, good, movement, and you become stiff. And so that's why the issue is the insulin resistant and dopamine are very important role to lead you to the Parkinson's disease. So when you have what problem you have too much sugar? Now it's very simple, right? Because when you have too much sugar, certainly it's good, your brain able to help to affect the dopamine. But again, long term, the problem is your dopamine will be eventually damaged because you have high insulin resistance, and diabetic dysfunctions all occur, and at the end of the day, make your whole neural degeneration increase and get worse. So when you have a lot more sugar, what's going to happen in the brain? Your brain will start getting chronic inflammation because, again, when you have a lot of sugar, the brain will start getting inflamed because not enough, well, not enough insulin to take sugar into the cells, and it will start damaging all the nerve cell neurons. And when that happens, the inflammation will contribute your dopamine neuron loss. So in other words, the inflammation increase the dopamine is losing its function, and your brain is start aging, and your all the brain cells start degenerated and not working anymore, and eventually it will go start getting those neurodegenerative disease, which is like Parkinson's disease. So you don't want the brain to get inflamed, because in long term, that's leads you to brain getting age, but at the same time, at the end of the day, you get your brain cell become degenerated and lead to Parkinson's disease. Now, also another thing, you will also get what they call oxidation stress. Well, what is that? Because what happened is when your blood sugar increase, you get oxidation stress, which is mean the body had no longer able to continue to detoxify for you. So when you have that happen, your brain cells and also the tissues of the brain cells are start damaging, and it also affect the brain cell that perform cellular respiration, to make cells to breathe, for example. So all that will start damaging. So net result, your brain tissue and cell will start damage. And so that is not good for you, actually. So scientists also realize when you have brain insulin resistant, you basically, because those cells are start damaging in the brain, you actually reduce the neural energy, impair the dopamine signal, and that you also increase the neurodegenerative disease. So really, when you have insulin resistance, in conclusion, is really at the end of the day, your dopamine signal will become impaired. When that impair, then you really over time, your brain cells will be a lot of stress and eventually damage and lead you to those neurological neurodegenerative disease, which is like Parkinson's disease. Now, you keep that in mind, the brain, if you continue to have a lot of blood sugars high, your insulin resistance, so it end up you have a lot more sugars very high. It affects the brain through like inflammation, because when you have high blood sugar, the vessels are going to inflame. And with the long-term continued vessel inflame, your blood vessels is going to start damaging. And that result, you decrease all the blood cell function. Yeah, and your neuron, the nerve cells is going to start decreasing function, and eventually all that will lead you to some neurodegenerate process, and lead to eventually end up with your Parkinson's disease or some other neurological degenerative disease. So metabolic brain connection is so important because it affects the brain when you're too much blood sugar in the brain cell. I mean the brain, the cell's gonna start getting damaged and it start getting inflamed, blood vessel damage, and get your brain cell also damaged. And eventually, your basically the simple conclusion is, hey, it might end up with the Parkinson disease. Now, so we talk about it's a very complicated subject, but imagine, just remember, it's so important. You need to ensure you don't get too much sugar, too much in the brain, that which cause inflammation. You don't want to get a lot of brain cell inflamed, which damage the brain cells, inflammations, and dopamine is a very important uh, item that will not want to damage because damage it doesn't give the right signal and you will end up leading yourself to Parkinson's disease. But how do you prevent it? Very simple. Actually, you can do lifestyle habit change, which give you better healthy blood sugar level. And that's very simple. You can prevent this because once you get it, then it's hard time to prevent, except you can lower your your progression, but it's still there. It won't go back. Okay. So you want to make sure you don't get into that stage at all. You want to be prevented from entering the stage. So how do you do that? That's including eating balanced meal, limit sugary drink. In other words, your bubble tea is gone, your Coke is gone. Don't drink all of those. And stay physical active and maintain a healthy weight. That's the key. Excuse me. Oh man, I have a bad allergy today. So energy, so important to have continued to get healthy diet. Okay, that is the key. Now with that, how do you get healthy diet? Now, very important. Just eat a lot of vegetable, fruit, whole grain, healthy fat, and plenty plant-based food like tofu, that kind of good stuff. Okay, if you eat all that, most likely your sugar do not get spiked. So important, no more sugar spike. So with that, you always get extremely low sugar, in the brain. Your brain will not have high insulin resistance. That is the most important step to prevent future occurrence of the Parkinson's disease. So in taking away, you got to remember these key points. Blood sugar health is actually influence your brain health. Okay, so really important. You have to get good blood sugar level, not to go high, low, and that create insulin resistance. So insulin resistance will definitely affect your dopamine neuron. This is an important uh, neurons to form your mood, movement, uh, uh, motivation, all the good stuff of the brain works. Without that, that's you get stiffness, don't want to do anything, shaking, that will be all influencing. So the chronic inflammation also may worsen your neural degenerate generations. So net result, you don't want sugar continue to be around the brain, inflame all the vessels, because then you will get worse potential future neuron degeneration and may lead to your Parkinson's disease. A healthy lifestyle support your whole metabolic balance, meaning that you have better blood sugar levels, you will not get insulin resistance, you don't get sugar spike, your brain doesn't have large free sugar floating around that affect your dopamine. So all that really is the key here. That's the reason why blood sugar is so important. Blood sugar health is so important, that influence your brain health. So taking away important is not to spike your blood sugar, then maintain in a good uh, level So that way you will be always be created a healthy environment for your brain. So at the end of the day, how low sugar help you? Because low sugar does actually lower your blood sugar. That's the key, and lower your blood cholesterol, and also improve your overall health. And also, especially people are controlling their blood sugar, it's so important to drink your low sugar daily. Lower your blood sugar, put the A1C all the way down to below 6 and below. And so even you are diabetic, doesn't matter, because I have a lot of people who have A1C 10, 11, 12, they still also brought it back to, under 6. I just give you a story. I was just catching a bus, and one of bus person, which I don't know, came up and say, "Oh, I really appreciate your low sugar tea, because I give it to her mom. My mom A1C was 8 something, and now her A1C is lower than 6 and reaching 5.7." I said, "Wow, that's really good." And so he was so happy. He was going to say, after taking medication, the blood sugar doesn't drop, but drinking low sugar tea, it dropped. So that is some of the exciting news that I got from just riding bus, meeting our, typical Hong Kong citizen who drink low sugar tea. So in conclusion, now, very important to remember, blood sugar health, provide brain health are very much connected. Okay, so how that work is because the blood sugar, if they stay high for a long period of time, they start getting inflammation, affect how the brain cell function and communicate it. Okay. Now, when that happens, when your blood sugar goes up, also the insulin resistance also goes up. And how insulin resistance goes up, it affects your dopamine neurons, which if you have dopamine damages and not a lot of dopamine function, it really increase your Parkinson disease risk. Now, remember, dopamine give you mood, movement, happiness, and you won't better sleep. But without dopamine, you're gonna get very steep, can't move anymore, by shaking, and all that lead to your Parkinson disease risk. Okay. So very important. You got to remember that's why insulin resistance, you don't want to be high insulin resistant in the brain at all. So when body become a lot of insulin resistant, the brain also struggle to use sugar effectively. And that result, it affect the dopamine signal. Now, when you have a lot of sugar, your brain become chronically inflamed. So now you have oxidation stress and contribute more brain cells damaging. So long-term metabolic stress will trigger inflammation, you have free radical damage, and now you more further damage some of the sensitive brain cell. So managing blood sugar will be really important to support your neurological health. So how do you do that? You got to keep your blood sugar stable. You have to reduce the metabolic stress, meaning that the sugar can easily process and go back to the cells. Does not rather than getting the sugar free flow in the brain affect the brain, all the vessel be inflamed. You don't want to do that. So the prevention is simple. You just have simple lifestyle habit. You gotta get a healthy diet, physical activities, and reduce any excess sugar intake can make a big difference because of the fact that you don't have a lot of sugar, then you don't have a lot of sugar insulin resistant. Remember, insulin resistant relate to dopamine neuron affect their function, and that's so important. So your daily habit, if you can able to have continuous support of balanced blood sugar, you can actually prolong a much longer term brain health and also metabolic health. So net result, your brain was so much healthier, you have less risk going to Parkinson's disease, and you can able to have a much better health because you have all the whole body will also have less sugar spike and create all blocks, no blocking, and so even the chance of strokes are decreased. All that will come into place. So very simple daily habit, eating good, a lot of low carb, low carb diet, a lot of vegetable, uh, less red meat, a lot of protein like tofu. Don't spike the sugar. That will all help you to give you a long-term better brain health and decrease the chances you're getting Parkinson's disease. Okay, today I know the topic is not easy to understand, but I try to make it as simple as possible so you can hope you can understand. The important thing is really blood sugar, less insulin resistance, so it doesn't affect the dopamine, and dopamine will give you mood, movement, and if that affected, that eventually lead you to Parkinson's disease. So you want to, in conclusion, you want to say it in a very simple way. That's what happened. So I hope you can understand that. So now you have more motivation to really take not excess sugar to affect your brain and do exercise, lower your weight, and also make sure you have continued to live on this healthy lifestyle. And that result, you'll be uh, healthy and you won't have a chance to get Parkinson's disease. If any question, write to me, Andy, A-N-D-Y, at WAHFONG.com, or WhatsApp me, 852 country code 6792-8891. I will answer you, whatever question you got, and we'll see you next week. And thank you very much for taking a busy time in Saturday or your Friday, and enjoy our webinar. Take care. Thank you very much. Looking forward to continue to work with you. Okay.